video, we created a simple Xcode project, clicking the second option here on the splash screen. In this video, I want to look at playgrounds. That's our first option here. A playground is a project that is interpreted rather than compiled. I need to give my playground a name. I'm going to call it Playground Demo 1. I can choose the platform. I want iOS rather than OS X, and click Next. Decide where I want to save it. And here is my playground. Playgrounds are great for learning Swift because it's going to give us instant feedback on each of the lines of code that we write. It starts out with 2 lines of code here. One is importing UIKit, so it's a directive, and UIKit gives us access to our UI objects. And then there's a variable declaration. The name of the variable is str, and it equals a literal string of hello playground. This is a string variable. Over here on the right-hand side, I can see the value that is being assigned, hello playground. So this is your classic hello world. I can add in more code here. I'm going to create a constant. We use the word let for that. Let a equal 8. And we'll see the value of 8 has now been assigned. Let b equal 12. And then I'll create a variable. Var c equals a plus b. And the value that's assigned to c is 20, a plus 12. Okay? So we get instant feedback, and we can instantly see the values of our variables. If I try to change the value of b, so I say b equals 5, I get an error. And I have this little red circle with a white exclamation mark in it that designates this as an error. I'm going to click on that, and I can see what the problem is. Cannot assign to let value b, because b is a constant. We can't change the values of b. So if I change this from let to var, now it's fine, and the value of b is 5. So if I then say c equals a times b, I get the value of 40, 8 times 5. I'm going to create another variable of j, and have it equal 1. And then I'm going to create a for loop. So we'll have a variable I. I want I less than 10, and I'm going to increment I. And each time through that loop, let's do j equals j plus I. And what it shows over here in my interpretation is it's going to execute this loop, or this line of code, 9 times. Now looking at this line, if I come over to the right-hand side, there's a little plus sign here that I can see the value history. So I'm going to open that up. And it shows me a chart of that value over the period of time, with basically I starting out at 1 and going to 9, and the values that are accumulated for j. So j is our right-hand side, I is down here at our left-hand side, I is down here at the bottom. Let's do one more thing to our line of code here. I'm going to go ahead and close that for now. Let's also do a print line, and I'll print the value of j each time through the loop. Again, that's going to execute 9 times. Okay, so I'm going to come back over here and click this plus sign to see the value history, and there is a printout of the values each time it goes through that loop, the 9 times, ending with the value of j being 46. And I can also come back up here and look at the graph. Notice that the value histories here are for that one line of code. They're not necessarily in the same order as my code. It's just as I've looked at them, it's going to show these. So right now, this line of code, which is this output, is above this line of code, which is this output. And as you place your mouse in one of the lines, you can see a darker border around the output. So I could close this And if I come over here and reopen it, it's going to appear below my chart now. And to get rid of any of these, you just simply click the little close box in the upper left-hand corner. Okay, I'm going to close that again. So I'm going to create another variable called ABC. Now, there is no substring in Swift. I have no idea why that is. It seems to have been easy to have included it. But I'm going to take the str variable, and we're going to use a range using advance. I want str dot start index, and I'm going to start my index at 7. Now we use a range. Oops, I need a parenthesis. We use a range with those 3 ellipses. Advance str dot start index. I'm going to go to 10. To capitalize the I. And so now this line of code is showing me the output is play, or the value that's assigned is play. So what this does, it's getting character number 7, which is the P, and going to character number 10 and giving me the substring of play. One thing we could do is create a function. I'm going to call it substring. We're going to pass it a string which we'll call ABC. An integer variable I'm going to call start, and an end variable, which is also an integer. These will be the start and end characters, index characters. And then I'll create var sub equals ABC. And I'm going to cheat a little bit here. I'm going to copy and paste. And I need to change this str to ABC. And I'm going to return sub. Now I need to also tell it that I'm returning a string. And then I could say var zyx equals substring, and I'm going to pass it str, and I want the values. We put 7 and 10 in there. I'm going to leave 7 and 10 there for now. Actually, let's change that. Let's make it 11 and 16. So the value that's being assigned is play, because it's taking character 7 and character 10. So let's now change these to start and end. And now it's getting ground. Starting with character 11, going to character 16. Now, what if I were to change this to 18? There is no index of 18, and I get an error. So what I'd probably want to do is create an if clause here that would look to see if the end value is greater than the length of my string, ABC, and if it is, set end to the length of ABC minus 1. For now, we'll just leave it as that. I'm going to show you one more thing you can do in Playgrounds, and we'll be using Playgrounds in the next several videos as we look more in depth at variables and constants and conditionals and loops and so forth. We'll explore those through Playgrounds. I'm going to create a constant that is going to be a UI image view. I'll give it a frame. And I'm going to set this to 387, 259. I'll explain in a minute why I use those values. That's going to be the size of my window. It's going to relate back to the size of an image I want to display in this eventually. And I'm going to say iv.background color equals UI color dot red color. Got to get all the case sensitivity right. And now I have this image view over here, UI image view. But if I come over and click on the value history, I see my box. It's a red box, 387 by 259. That may have shrunk it down because of what's available here size-wise on my screen. So I'm going to stretch that out. So we can even do graphics within our playground. Now I want to display an image here, and I need to put an image into the resources for this playground. The way we're going to do that is go to the View menu. I'm going to show my utilities. Down here in the resource path in my utility, there's a little arrow that will take me to my resources folder. So there's my resources. I'm going to open up another project here that has an image in it. I'm going to take this bear, I'm going to duplicate it, and I'm going to drag it into the resources. Okay. And I'm going to get rid of the word copy here. In fact, let's just do bear. Bear.jpg. Okay, so there's my image. If I was to look at the info on the image, we would see the dimensions are 3872 by 2592. So I basically took 10% of that and made my image size 387 by 259. That's where I got those numbers. Okay, so now Bear is part of our resources. I'm going to close that. Close that, come back over to my playground. I'm going to hide my utilities. Okay, so now I'm going to add another line. I want iv.image equals UI image named and a literal string of bear.jpg. And as it interprets that line of code, I can come over and look at the value history, and there's my bear image. So lots of things we can do with playgrounds. Don't have to worry about creating your interface. It's just a matter of playing with the code. Great way to learn Swift.